We begin the broadcast with some positive news for a change. Despite spending another pandemic year, 9 in every 10 Filipinos are ringing in the new year with hope rather than fear or despair. And that is still lower, however, than the 96% rating in pre-pandemic SWS surveys.
But tempering that optimism is the ongoing uptrend in COVID infections. Today alone, positivity rate doubled to 4.5%. In fact, the Octa Research Group is not discounting the possibility that cases might hit 2,000 yet again before the year ends. Good evening, I'm Gretchen Ho.
And I'm Ed Lingao. You're watching The Big Story. For the first time in over a month, the daily case count in the country has reached more than 800 today. Positivity rate, or the percentage of those that tested positive for the virus, is also at its highest since November.
Before the year ends, experts are projecting that cases might once touch again the 2,000 mark. What does this mean then for our New Year celebrations? Jen Calimon has the answer.
A lavish midnight feast with family and relatives, parties with friends, raffles and games. These are some of the ways by which Filipinos ring in the new year. But with a continuous uptick of COVID-19 cases, experts say this year's celebration must be kept to a minimum. Just this day, COVID cases have doubled from 421 on Tuesday to 889. Positivity rate is also at its highest since the second week of November at 4.5%. In a statement, the Health Department said that they cannot link this to the Omicron variant just yet, especially with the increased mobility over the holidays. Prior to Wednesday's caseload, positivity rate in NCR has increased to 2.4% this week, compared to 1.68% 2 weeks ago. With the uptrend, the Octa Research suspects that this could be an indication of a local transmission of the Omicron variant.
We're not trying to create fear. I mean, we're just being honest. If it's just an uptick, it wouldn't be this fast. But because of the rapid increase, again, we are waiting for confirmation from biosurveillance and genome sequencing.
In a worst-case scenario, Professor David sees the likelihood of cases hitting 2,000 once again by the end of 2021.
It could be possible that it could jump to almost 2,000 by the end of the year. Hopefully, that won't happen, but because there are many factors dito.
Given the uptick, some families now opt to spend New Year with their bubble. The Valisno family, for one, said there won't be big gatherings this time.
Dahil sa pandemic pa rin, we have to adjust yung mga numbers namin. Lang, we're safe. 4 kami. Pero sa i-adjust kami ng for safety protocols, lalo na hindi pwede kami mag-games at konting salo-salo naman.
For a safe New Year celebration, Professor David of Octa said alternatives can still be done.
Food packs, huwag mag-mix ng households. And if people are feeling symptoms, kahit cold-like symptoms, they should already isolate themselves and protect their friends and families. If they have cough, they're feeling some slight fever, they should definitely not abstain muna from the celebration. Kasi I mean, you have to think of other people. We can't be selfish.
Reporting for News 5, Jen Calimon, We Are One News.
And just how serious is this uptick in COVID-19 cases? That big question and more with Professor Guido David of Octa Research Group. Professor Guido, thank you for joining us and welcome to The Big Story.
Yes, hi. Good evening, Ed, and our viewers and listeners, Tito.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You just mentioned in the soundbite that you're looking at the possibility of reaching 2,000 by year end. I just like to qualify that. Are we talking about a possibility or a probability?
It's a possibility, but I would say that there's a good likelihood of that happening, given the substantial increase in the positivity rate and the number of cases over the past few days.
Yes, sir. Well, the numbers do seem to be very concerning. We assume that you also made projections down the line, not just for the year end. Have you also made projections for example, the first week or the middle of January and the end of January going down the line?
Well, so far we have projections until maybe the first week of January until like about January 7 or 8 that it's possible to reach I think something in the neighborhood of 8,000 cases per day. Again, these are just projections. Our projections are based on certain assumptions. It's not yet clear if these assumptions will be met. So, I mean, this is just one possible scenario. The best case scenario is if the uptick will just, disappear. I mean, or the increase in cases will just disappear or plateau.
Yes, sir. I'd like to do a bit of a rewind. Did you say by January 7, you're looking at a possibility of what, 3,000? Or was it a different number?
I actually said 8,000.
8,000?
8,000 cases.
8,000.
Yes.
That's your
a
worst.
possibility.
Yes, sir. I suppose that's your worst case scenario.
It would be close to a worst case scenario. Yes.
Yes, sir. Is this are these projections based on the premise that we are looking at an Omicron variant already spreading, or is this just simply based on the numbers that we have so far? I mean, exactly what are we basing this on?
It's a combination of both. We're looking at trends that we're seeing in other countries. And again, we're not claiming that there's an Omicron spread, but I'm just saying that we can't rule out that possibility at this time.
Yes, sir. Sir, just to also qualify, your projections are based on mathematical projections based on the numbers in the last few days and the last few weeks. Tama ba? So we're looking at a pattern, in other words.
Yes, definitely. It's a pattern. This is not based on a crystal ball reading, for sure.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, Professor Guido David of Octo Research. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are not alone, though. COVID infections have been on the rise worldwide. Tonight's big number, 11%. That refers to the one-week increase in global COVID infections. That translates to around 5 million new cases from December 20 to 26. The World Health Organization says the overall risk due to the Omicron variant remains elevated. Research by South African scientists suggests that Omicron could possibly displace Delta as the dominant variant.
These are the other big stories tonight. In order to better brief the public, private hospitals opted to delay their planned PhilHealth holiday on the first week of 2022. Ever wondered how the 2022 polls will be carried out? The Comelec just staged a mock elections to fine-tune the process of voting with COVID-19 still around. And tuloy pa rin po ang Pasko, mga kapatid, as Signal and the MVP Group hold another round of Telethon to gather funds for our Odette hit kapatids. These big stories after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. With their houses and livelihood ruined, hundreds of Siargao residents have flown out of the island.
But with limited exit flights, the wait for a free flight could take days. Maran Enriquez with the story.
2 weeks since Typhoon Odette ravaged Siargao, locals continue to flock to Sayac Airport in hopes of getting a free flight to Manila. 22-year-old Ella May from Barangay Lobogon, Del Carmen has been staying at the airport for 3 nights. Ella May said she is taking her chances to land a job in Laguna.
Pag makahanap ako ng trabaho doon, baka hindi na ako babalik dito para matulungan ko si mama. Kasi yung bahay namin sirang-sira.
Nanay Benita, who's with her children, has also been staying at the airport. They plan to leave for Legazpi Albay to live with her daughter.
Hirap na talaga. Kahit pagkain, mahirap. Ilang bisis lang nagbigay ang barangay. 5 kilong bigas, tapos DSWD. Yan lang. 6 na kilo, tapos 10 sardinas. Yan lang. Tapos kape. Makasya ba yan?
While many are still awaiting for flights, Marjon, a surf instructor in San Isidro, was lucky enough to get on board a plane. He and his sister left their parents to find a work in their cousin's place in Narayat, Pampanga.
Baka may trabaho doon na mga bakante, pasukan na lang. Kung pagtuturo ko ng surfing, wala rin kasi wala namang turista babalik doon. Kasi pangit naman ang view.
An average of 50 to 60 passengers joined the humanitarian and military flights leaving Siargao. Since December 18, about 800 passengers have been flown to Manila. But for those who were left in the island, the Trade and Industry Department said they will be giving livelihood kits for micro businesses worth 8 to 10,000 pesos. Loans will also be available for small and medium enterprises.
Yung pautang nga sa resort, ito pa yung dahil sa pandemya. So yun na ang pwede nilang gamitin, no? Kasi nandiyan pa rin yung pondo eh. Zero interest yun, walang collateral, may grace period.
While it may take years before Siargao return to its paradise-like state, residents for the meantime stress the need for food, clean drinking water, and construction materials to rebuild their homes. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Local governments in Odette hit areas have 15 days to distribute government's cash aid to residents. Financial aid of 1,000 pesos per person or 5,000 pesos per household will be rolled out. Beneficiaries should come from low-income families living in areas under a state of calamity. LGUs are tasked to identify the list of beneficiaries, which will then be published on social media or within their barangays. LGUs may request for extension if needed.
Kung lalampas po sa 5 ang miyembro ng pamilya, hanggang 5,000 lang po sila. So ibig sabihin kung 6 po sila sa isang pamilya, up to 5 lamang po. Ngayon, alam po natin yung sitwasyon na sa mga ibang kabahayan ay may 2 pamilyang nakatira. So kung 2 pamilya po yan, sabihin po natin merong 2 mag-asawa, tapos meron pa pong 2 mag-asawa at saka isang anak. So mangyayari po ay 2,000 yung 2 mag-asawa at yun naman pong 3, 2 mag-asawa at may anak ay 3,000. So ganun po, no? We will count them on the basis of the number of families residing in the household.
Natuloy pa rin ang Pasko Telethon of the MVP Group is still ongoing as we speak. You still have a few hours to take part in helping our kababayans rebuild their lives. Jenny Dongon tells us what to expect during the whole day event.
Sana maawa naman sila sa amin. Lahat ng mga gamit namin wala na. Maawa po kayo sa amin kasi wala na kaming makakain dito sa isla.
As Typhoon Odette left Visayas and Mindanao devastated, the MVP group of companies this time, together with the ABS-CBN Foundation, launched another telethon to make affected residents feel the Bayanihan spirit. The drive showcases Kapatid and Kapamilya stars with performances from Shasha Padilla, Moira, Juris, Eric Santos, and Darren Espanto, as well as Piolo Pascual, Sara Geronimo, Yen Constantino, Regine Velasquez, Ogie Alcacid, and Gary V. MVP companies are also on board, like the One Meralco Foundation, Makati Medical Center, PLDT Smart Foundation, Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation, Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, Paymaya, Maynilad, Signal TV Incorporated, TV5, and the Alagang Kapatid Foundation.
Nakarating na po sa isla ng Siargao, sa bayan po ng Del Carmen, ang first batch po ng relief goods na atin pong pinadala po dyan. So again, yung ating mga food packs, tubig at iba pa pong mga basic essentials ay nakarating na po ng Siargao at mula pa po kahapon hanggang sa mga oras nito, ang ating team po sa Alagang Kapatid Foundation ay naglilibot naman po dito sa mga munisipalidad na naapektuhan ng Bagyong Odette sa Southern Leyte.
The telethon will continue to run until 12:30 a.m. over at 1 PH. You can also stream it on News 5's Facebook page. It will also be aired on TV5 later at 10:30 in the evening. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
Our initiative to help our kababayans affected by Typhoon Odette continues, and here is how to donate. You can send your cash donations to the bank account details flashed on your screen. You can also use the PayMaya app to send in your donations. If you don't have it yet, just download the app and then scan the QR code on your screens. You can also take a picture of this code and then scan it on the app. And for Smart and TNT subscribers, you can donate by texting. Just text donate space and then the amount and then send it to 3456.
Time for another quick break. When we return, private hospitals hold off on conducting a PhilHealth holiday. But should claims remain unsettled, they say the break from the state insurer would push through. The Commission on Elections gives some voters a glimpse at how the polls will be held under the new normal. And not only is he the all-time top three-pointer in the NBA, Steph Curry has also just become the first Cager to down his 3,000 shot from outside the arc.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Edlin Gao.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Heeding the plea of PhilHealth members, a group of private hospitals decided to postpone their planned 5-day PhilHealth holiday.
They say this should also give the state insurer time to settle its unpaid claims. But should PhilHealth fail, they say they will not think twice from pushing through with the holiday. Camille Samonte with the story.
The Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines postponed its planned PhilHealth holiday on the first week of 2022. Group President Dr. Jose De Grano tells News 5's Frontline tonight that they first need to brief those who will be affected.
Kasi ang maraming nag-request sa amin ng mga patients at saka patient groups na kung maaari ay maipaliwanag muna ng mabuti ang kahulugan ng ating PhilHealth holiday.
During the planned break, benefits will not be credited, forcing patients to pay in full or use a different health insurance. PHappy says the postponement should give PhilHealth the chance to fix the issue on payment of claims. Should they fail, PHappy says the holiday is still on the table.
We will see again kung kailan ulit namin ipaplano itong PhilHealth holiday.
The palace is insisting that hospitals should instead avail PhilHealth's debit-credit payment method to speed up payment.
Why don't we all just comply? Why don't we all just avail of DCPM3? That way, wala pong magsasuffer dito and most especially yung mga pasyente po ng mga hospitals.
The Philippine College of Physicians tells PhilHealth to settle its obligations as Filipinos rely on the state insurer for their medical needs.
Kasi kawawa rin naman yung mga liliit na ospital na kung hindi sila ma-reimburse, no, they might probably fold up, and that will again affect the Filipino people.
The health department assured the public that government hospitals are ready to admit patients if the planned PhilHealth holiday pushes through.
We have funds actually, no, especially now that if the GAA or the General Appropriations Act, no, yung budget natin for 2022 will be signed already. And then there's another rolling fund for PhilHealth, yung kanilang pondo. So hindi naman mo kailangan mabahala ng ating mga ospital.
For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
Voting takes on a new form with the pandemic still around. Comelec just conducted a mock elections to fine-tune the polling process for the upcoming May elections. Camille Samonte with the story.
Nanay Elvira was among those who arrived at Padre Zamora Elementary School in Pasay City as early as past 6 in the morning. Together with her husband Francisco, they participated in the Commission on Elections mock elections. The mock polls were done across 34 barangays nationwide.
Para humalaman natin kung ano talaga yung mangyayari.
Before entering a polling place, a voter must undergo a temperature check. If his or her temperature is beyond 37.5 degrees Celsius, he or she has to stay inside the isolation polling place or IPP. And if his or her temperature remains above normal even after 3 temperature checks, then he or she would have to vote inside this area.
Otherwise, the voter may go straight to the assistant's desk to check their names, after which they can proceed to the waiting area. Then, to the actual voting area to fill up the ballot. And lastly, to the feeding area to put their ballot inside the vote counting machines. Today's ballots included names of Hollywood actors and actresses as well as other personalities. Mock voters at this school said they had no problem casting their votes.
Hindi naman nakakalito, ayos lang. Parang kagaya dati rin. Ang mga letra malilito. Pero kita naman namin eh.
Sandali lang po eh, wala pa siguro 5 minutes.
Comelec estimates an actual voting time of around 5 minutes and around 30 minutes for the entire process. Meanwhile, the commission reported a situation in Negros Oriental where a ballot didn't fit the VCM.
Some of the ballots seem to have expanded due to exposure to the elements. So medyo tumaba yung balota. And the solution is to trim it slightly.
The mock elections are meant to show whatever issues that may arise in the upcoming automated elections, but the Comelec vows to resolve these problems before the actual polls begin. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, We Are One News.
For the big story in sports, just weeks after becoming the NBA's all-time leader in the three-point field goals made, Steph Curry entered uncharted territory when he drilled his 3,000th career three-pointer. During their game versus the Denver Nuggets, Curry closed out the third quarter with a triple to become the first player in NBA history to make 3,000 career three-pointers. His latest milestone comes just 2 weeks after he hit his 2,974th career three-pointer to break Ray Allen's all-time record. Curry also tied his own record of 157 for consecutive games with at least one three-pointer. Despite being thousands of miles away from the country, PhilAm's Jordan Clarkson of the Utah Jazz and Miami Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra also joined in the calls to help out those affected by Typhoon Odette. Let's watch this.
I'm Jordan Clarkson from the Utah Jazz, and our hearts go out to all the Filipinos affected by Odette.
Hi, this is Eric Spoelstra, head coach of the Miami Heat. I'm reaching out to our fans because we need your help in supporting our Filipino friends. Every little bit helps. Any amount gifted will aid relief operations across the country.
Thank you for supporting our efforts to rebuild communities that need it most.
As they say, one act of kindness can go a long way.
This as two organizations have come together to rescue a distressed farmer while helping Odette victims as well. With 100,000 pesos spent for farming, farmer Mario Mauricio had sleepless nights thinking of his tons of unsold squash. But Alagang Kapatid Foundation and Rural Rising Philippines came to the rescue. The two organizations bought 10 tons of squash from Mario. The produce will be distributed to Odette-devastated areas. Now, this is the second time that both have worked together to distribute the produce.
Makakatulog na din po ako ng himbing.
Tinutulungan natin itong mga magsasaka dito at sila rin ay tumutulong ngayon doon sa mga sinalanta ng bagyong Odette.
Saan ba tayo makakabili ng kalabasa? Kalabasa, di ba?
Kalabasa tayo, di ba?
Baka mura yun.
Squash, okay. Call it squash.
Hindi, para sigurado.
That's a lot of squash.
De, pero tuloy-tuloy po ang ating pagtulong sa ating telethon. Ngayong gabi, ngayon ongoing po tayo sa...
Yeah, dire-diretso yan sa Wag Po.
At
sa
mamaya
1PH.
naman,
So,
mula 10 to 12:30, midnight.
Hindi ka sigurado.
Naka-duty ako.
Ikaw yung nakasalang mamaya.
Oo,
Okay,
manood
sige.
po kayo. At alamin po natin yung kwento at kalagayan po ng ating mga kababayan sa Odette hit areas at tumulong po tayo kung gusto niyo po mag-donate. Abangan niyo po mamaya 10 p.m. to 12:30 midnight pero meron din ngayon sa 1PH.
At kakanta raw si Gretchen.
Oo, para po sa inyong donasyon. Sana
Talaga?
damihan nyo, gagalingan ko. That wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Gretchen Ho. We are One News. Have a good evening.